Well, good morning, Kylie. I hope all is well. I wanted to take a moment to go over my goals with you this year. Uh, so this will just take a few minutes. I'm going to pack in a lot of information. I know time is valuable for you, busy times for you, the cabinet. Let me first start by saying, my condolences first for Dr. Hansen. And I know as the team, you guys have really rallied around for support and you've always been supportive of me at the site, of course. So thank you for that. So the reason why I'm doing the video is just to help you save time. Certainly we can meet and go over this in more detail, but I wanted to give you an overview nonetheless. So the first goal that I did choose, and that was one of the managerial competencies on leadership, was competency number 4, focuses over team, over self. It's something that's important, that shared leadership and the district direction with leading in 4 directions, and really giving people an opportunity on the leadership team to provide input, take on initiatives that help the instructional program and so forth. So just keeping those open lines of communication, authentic communication, and really talk to the school and school members about, input is important, productive struggle is important, and all of that. We want to make sure we build capacity, and we do that with our shared leadership opportunity at Bournes and getting our groups together, which has been beneficial in that regard. Hearing things from different site leaders and then as well as other principals has been invaluable. As it relates to, cohesion and consistency with the message. We want to continue to develop our team. See, our Avid team, our site team is our leadership team. So they function in the same roles. And if we really want Wicker to be across in all classrooms and we want to see it embedded effectively, then we need to have that as part of our leadership team. We're going to use that cycle of inquiry, or the plan, do, check, act cycle is what I call it. But the cycle of inquiry is really important with the professional learning communities and our leadership team on how we look at data, anecdotal, formative, or summative data, and come up with actions, conclusions, refinements, and so forth. I did an activity, and I'll do this 4 times with my staff. Not this one. Let me pull it up. It is right here. So I did a cycle of inquiry where they had to choose a formative assessment and then use these questions. So these are the analyze, plan, act, reflect, which is the cycle. And then I added these questions that needed to be answered on what piece of data. So what formative assessment did they use? What department, obviously, and then answering these questions and then giving me that feedback by department really helped me know where each department was, just from, maybe a dipstick standpoint on how they're analyzing data, what's important. I was able to give them real-time feedback because it's a Google Doc on, whether the information they gave to me was substantive and it really, dialed down into, all right, we've analyzed the data. How did students do? How did the subgroups of those students do? And then what are our actions? And then what are we going to do to review those actions? And that's been the missing part. Like, okay, we develop actions. We're good about that. But what are we going to do? And how do we measure how our actions, had an effect? Was it positive, negative, and then what refinements are made from there? So really just digging down deep with the cycle of inquiry. We do that with the staff, and it's been in part of my staff meetings, but I wanted to show this is specific to the department chairs and then their understanding and then sharing it with their own team leads. So that's that shared leadership piece. So I also did at the beginning of the year, just making sure that everybody was on the same page with our state data. And they were going to look at, the department norms. We want to set those things up. But I did create a Google Doc for them that was about the state data so that every single teacher on this campus knows how we performed with our success indicators in both ELA, math. And then we did share the suspension data as well. We didn't share the chronic absenteeism. We've talked about it, but we didn't talk about it because it's not in the state data yet. So I wanted to let you know that we did do an activity. This was shared with them. There was a Google Doc that they did have to fill out and answer data. So all of our teachers know the data from the state or CAS. And all of our teachers know and are using the cycle of inquiry. Now, the depth of success or depth of knowledge with using the cycle of inquiry does vary from department to department, and that happens with shared leadership, and that'll just take time. Okay. So going back, I will tell you that we did develop our school goals based on the success indicators. This is the SIPSA that was turned into Jennifer Deanda. So I just have the success indicator sheet. It's just a summary, and just the ELA team. So this goal right here, the ELA CASP and the math CASP, are a part of my 2 goals. So we don't have to spend a lot of time here, but I do want to let you know, although we only have 29 English learners, we do have an English learner goal, and we want to look at reclassification. I'll just tell you, with 29 students, the data is volatile. We can look really, really good, or we can look really, really bad based on 1 or 2 students, but nonetheless, we do have a goal. And going down here, we do have our attendance. We want to make sure that we're looking at our positive attendance and creating a system where kids want to come to school. We do have a good attendance rate, but that does come with the area and the affluency that we have up here. We have a chronic absentee rate that people are aware of. We deal with that with SART and SARB. Our suspension data, which is good. It looks really good in green, but gosh, there's a couple areas that we really need to get down to the business about, and that might be with cultural proficiency and bias. Our African American students, compared to their peers and all peers, even socioeconomically disadvantaged and Hispanic, is much, much higher rate of suspension and a much higher rate of non-success in CASP and ELA. So that is definitely something we're digging down into. And then, as always, our student engagement. We're really behind our web program and really developing that web program. Okay, so I didn't want to spend too much time there because I want to get back to the document. Sorry. Oh, also, in every staff meeting, we do have the district and school-wide goals. So on the back of it, we have the 2 core values of RUSD, student learning and well-being, the 2 characteristics of effective leadership. We've got to focus on fundamentals. We've got to have that balance with relationships, so we balance both sides of the track. I do have my 2 school goals. We are going to keep a well-being goal, but that's our personal thing. Increase student engagement based on Gallup, but you already know about increasing distance from standard or distance from 3 in ELA and math, subgroups, and so forth. And then I did put on the Gallup. Also down here, what the staff does see, the rates for RUSD. You see that on the right-hand side for 2020, the goals, and then what our rates are currently. We haven't got our newest data from the state, the embargo data. It's supposed to come in the next couple weeks. We'll see when that comes. And this is what our dashboard looks like for 2017. Keep in mind, they have not released the 2018 final scores, and then I will update these as well. Okay, let me close this one. All right, and go back to the next. Oops, you don't need to see my email. All right. Now back to the goals. So real quick, I did focus on team over self. We've already talked about that. My second goal is on ELA, and with a focus on our African American students, SED subgroup. And that was just based on the data, and then looking at the dials from the 5x5, and then also, our data and what Dan has shared with us as well. So these are the things that we have the ELA focus. I've attached that to an email along, obviously, with this video, and you can go ahead and read through that and then look at the things that we're focused on. We're definitely focused really on our Wicker strategies and school-wide, making sure that that's part of our deal, and in both math and language arts, also across the curriculum, but with the specific goal of ELA. Wicker, we're going to utilize our Avid tutors to support our efforts in ELA and full development of student capacity and staff capacity with StudySync, our adoption for ELA. We do have an ELA focus, an extended day for ELA for students, so we can catch them up as they fall back in standards, and it really is for those that are on track for retention, so we keep that. And I did talk about a math focus right here. We really are I'm losing my words. What it is we have a new adoption, and it's a total shift in how we teach. So the we do, you do, I do model of instruction is really flip things around from the I do, you do, we do model. And I want my staff to get away from, and they're really open to this, just what is the correct answer and move to how do we explain our answers from a concept. By doing that, when we get kids to give us their input about explaining their answer, explaining the concept, we accept all levels, all their cognitive levels, just like we do in ELA. We have a writing piece, and then with that writing, we accept all their levels, and it might be a 2, it might be a 3 or 4, all the way up, but we give them feedback that's appropriate for each of those levels. We want to do the same thing in math, because if we just accept their answer right or wrong, that's it. We move on, and you're wrong, or do it again, or do more practice, blah, blah, blah. But by accepting and giving feedback on explanations of their answers, then we get into that depth of understanding that we really need to get to, and that will pay dividends in the end. We will use our avid tutors as well, and just really that cycle of inquiry and being a part of that group in math. So my fourth goal, I didn't want to get rid of the well-being goal. I just wanted to share with you that we want to increase our engagement here, our parent and employee engagement, and we have goals for that. So I know that you're going to take a look at that. I know you're really only going to evaluate me on the 3 goals, so don't feel like you have to. I just wanted to include it so that you knew that we certainly had it. Real quick to finish up, I just wanted to let you know, so my staff meetings, we have been talking about the goal sheet. You can see that goal sheet that I shared with you. This is in every meeting. We do have our staff commitments, and what does it look like? One of the big things is structured collaboration, and then meeting kids and greeting them each day at the door. It's a school-wide commitment. We obviously do our nuts and bolts. We don't need to do that, but Snap and Read extension, we have talked to the staff about Snap and Read, and that's just really for our struggling readers, our struggling writers, and our English learners, and using that tool. And then always knowing your who in trauma-informed classroom, and we do activities. But this is just one example of a staff meeting. And then another example of a staff meeting where I'm going over the cycle of inquiry. You can see in that activity. The goal sheet, once again, in another staff meeting, staff commitment. So this, I just wanted to show you that this is a common theme. Snap and Read, again, we want people using that extension, and then just talking about Avid school-wide, we really want to reinforce that. And this was an activity to do with class where we were sharing focus notes, and then giving them the different levels of DOK as it relates to what students can do, and what teachers should be helping them as it relates to just simple recall to all the way up to synthesis and analysis, or analysis and synthesis. So that's just a snapshot of the goals. Attached, you'll have my goals for you. Any edits that you want to make, hey, no problem. Just make the edits and send it to me, and we'll touch base. I'm sorry it's a video, but I know how busy you are, and we certainly can sit down. I'll come up there anytime. All right, have a great day, and I hope all is well with all of you. Take care. Bye.